G'day everybody, my name is Lowell and welcome to the channel. So we have a reaction video. This is about a US island that speaks Elizabethan English. This is I think it's Ocracoke. I think they had, how do you pronounce it? The only thing I know about that is I think it was Blackbeard that was caught there. So let's jump in and let's have a look at this one.
Hoy Toider on the side so last night the water fire, night moonshine, no fish. What's supposed to matter up woods?
It's the only dialect in the United
I understood that more than I understood people from Alabama. That's weird. The English?
Hoy Toider on the side so last night the water fire, night moonshine, no fish. What's supposed to matter up woods?
It's the only dialect
Okay.
in the United States. When you play it for people from outside of the United States, England, do not identify it as an American dialect.
It definitely doesn't sound American. Obviously, they've been isolated for so long and they've kept that accent. Interesting, very interesting.
The Ocracoke dialect and several of the island dialects of the Atlantic seaboard really began in the late 17th century. There was a settlement on the island in the first decade of the 18th century. So in about 1709 or 10, the people presumably came from the southwest of England there to Virginia and settled on islands. And people from those islands traveled by boat to these islands in North Carolina and settled them. Once they settled them, of course, they had no way to access the mainland other than by boat, which is still the case. And so it was isolated for centuries.
Okay.
It's home, and it's special to me because it's home.
We found this place, and it was beautiful.
Ocracoke's quite simply a magical place.
So they maintained a fairly isolated and independent existence. And in that context, the original dialect was perpetuated and strengthened.
Teaches Island Bar and Grill. Edward teaches Blackbeard. That's a bit of a rub in the face of him. Okay. I think he was beheaded there.
There are
as well.
certainly retentions of English. You know, there are words that sort of we can find in the plays of Shakespeare, like a word like mamic.
Mama, oh, that means when somebody gets you playing and they get hold of you and they're mad at you about something in the game and they, try to shake you up a little bit. They want to box with you.
Momic's like to irritate somebody or tickle somebody, you know.
There are also things that they've simply created. In the United States, we play a game hide and seek. Well, on Ocracoke, the term is called me-honky, because when they're hiding, what they do is they imitate the sound of a goose. Me-honky, me-honky.
Just hiding and finding it and running through the bushes and hide somewhere else and hollering, me-honking, they know you're wherever you are. Where they got that name now, I don't know. It's really just another name for like hide and seek, except you choose team.
When we first got there,
I guess it would almost be like Marco Polo. You're kind of giving away your thing, but you're not really telling them where you are.
all right, the term for outsider was dingbatter.
They're the ones you see riding around the road in the middle of the road on a bicycle. And the two of them, you'll see there's a couple. And a whole string of cars behind them. They're right in the middle of the road, right down the middle of the road. That's their dingbat.
Where did they get dingbatter?
Dingbat?
As it turns out, up until the early 1970s, the term for outsider was foreigner or stranger, okay? Now, in 1972, they got television for the first time. There was a famous American sitcom called All in the Family with Archie Bunker, which was on at the time. One of the characteristics of Archie Bunker, who was sort of a parody of a racist, a chauvinist, and so forth, was he called his wife a dingbat. because she didn't seem to have much common sense. Okay, They saw that and said, oh, that's just like the outsiders here.
A real true blood dingbatter, or somebody would see the car track, two car tracks going across the beach, and would go across there in a car and think that he could go where a four-wheel drive. So that is a real dyed-in-the-wool dingbatter.
So in that sense, you know, it keeps changing, but it changes in ways that are sort of similar to its circumstances, you know, what it has and what it doesn't have and so forth. But they also have some pronunciation. The one that everybody talks about, which is why it's referred to as the Hoy Toider.
Hoy Toider on the signs for week. Last night the water fire, night moonshine.
Yeah, that's definitely okay, Southwest English. Okay, because I understand that.
No fish. Ways both matter, Uncle Woods.
Yep.
Because that vowel of tide is back, so it sounds more like toy. All right, so that is what they're known for.
Now tell me what you said.
High tide on the sound side.
South side, yeah.
Last night the water fired.
Water fired?
Yeah, that's phosphorus in the water. You ever go to the ocean, you see the old people used to call it water fire, when the water fired.
Last night water fired. Okay.
Yeah, and the night the moonshine.
And
the night the moonshine. So they had one night they had a water fire against them. The next night they had a moonshine against them. Usually couldn't catch too much on bright nights. You know, when the nights are bright, you don't catch much fish. So.
I see.
Oh, dang. Oh. Oh.
I guess a good feeling, you know, to know that I was born and raised right here and one of the original ones before people started moving in as tourists and stuff, you know. You might say an original Ocracoke, you know, Ocracoke.
The only real status is whether you're a native. That is, they call them Ocracockers, in which case you can follow your lineage back into the 1700s. Sort of if you've just been there, 2-3 generations, you're not a real Ocracoker. Right now, there are about 350 islanders out of a population of around 900. Also, there's more marriages between outsiders and Ocracockers. And so that has an effect. And more recently, and this is really interesting, now 40% of the kids in the school are Hispanic. And that's related to the fact that the tourist industry is dependent on outside help.
Yeah, and I think it's worse for the girls than it is for the boys, because the girls are kind of sort of like, they can't fish, they can't crab, you know, and take up a trade like that. So they like eventually end up in one of the restaurants or a motel, or they're on more of a day-to-day basis with the tourists and stuff. So I think they're losing it more than a lot of the boys are.
I got a little kid, so he's 4 weeks old. Time he gets grown, his accent will be what they call dingbattish. I would like for him to kind of keep the same accent and heritage like we've had for years and years, but there's no way now. All this is gone.
What do you think?
Everybody can be preserved if you fellas click on tape.
Yeah, there's a lot of new people.
It's funny, I can understand his accent more than others. I don't know if it's maybe the slightly more English sound. I don't know.
You know, coming in and everything, and it's changed a lot in the last few years. In the last 20 years, most of it's been lost.
By our count, you know, people within 1 or 2 more generations, the dialect will be gone for good.
Oh. That was very interesting. That was very interesting. Very sad as well. Kind of bittersweet that they're highlighting it. You know, that was what, 1997 they did that program, but highlighting it again. But as I said, you know, in 2 generations, it's going to be gone. That dialect. I mean, you can't stop progress. Being a tiny little population, of course, you know, with the tourists and everything coming in, you know, more and more people living in that area, of course it's going to get watered down to the point there. where it will disappear and it'll just be something, that film will be the last of that, dialect. It happens all over the world, happens everywhere. So, kind of sad to see. Happy that I've actually seen it. But, yeah, that devastation with the tornado and, the flooding and everything else like that. Hurricane, I beg your pardon. Yeah, things you read like that, it's just like, when you're down on your knees, they just have that, keeps you down even further. But happy that I've found it, just, obviously, come across this video, but kind of sad at the same time that, it is disappearing as well too. So, but that was very interesting. You can definitely hear the English in their accent. Easier to understand than some of the southern accents that I've heard. I don't know why. Maybe the actual other ones are, I don't know, harder vowels or something. I can't pick it up, but that one I could. But that was a very interesting video. A very interesting video. So let me know what you guys thought of that. Thank you very much for joining me today. Make sure you stay safe, and I'll definitely see you in the next reaction video. Oh, you're still here? You want more content? Why don't you check out my Patreon down here? You'll get plenty more content and some exclusive videos over there too. If not, why not check out this one over here?